Hello and welcome back to Let Ephodic Zones. Let me get my voice together. I am your hostess, Joe, and today I'm going to be doing a video on my romantic divine partner. And specifically, I'll be talking about some of the things that I was able to learn, unlearn, and embrace since coming into connection with him. I believe that it is very important to create this video and share it with you all publicly because a lot of the things that I overlooked at that time, I believe a lot of people are currently still overlooking within their love style and their self-love. The way that you love yourself and the way that you allow yourself to express itself, allow your spirit to express itself and your soul to express itself, that deeply affects how you're able to love other people, whether it be for better or for worse. So I'm going to get into these talking points, and I really hope that you all find these things insightful. I'm sure there's something in here that someone will be able to relate to, because I do feel like this is like a mass issue that a lot of people, well, not this because there are multiple things, but I feel like these things are like big issues that a lot of people ignore within themselves, and it finds ways to seep into their relationship. So yes, the first thing I want to discuss is my past. So that is very important because your childhood and just your past in general, even if it's your adulthood past, that makes up a big part of who you currently are, who you are to become, and like how you manifest in your connections and how you address certain things within your life. So I grew up in a home with one parent. My dad, he was very distant throughout my childhood. Rarely heard from him. Didn't really, he would be like, oh, I love you all, I miss you all, but we didn't really get to see him like that. Being with my mom, she was somewhat affectionate in the beginning of the beginning of our relationship would be my early childhood. So in my early childhood, she was somewhat affectionate. Through that affection, it was laced with abusive behaviors. So looking back, it's kind of like a hindsight trauma, and the affection that I once said, okay, well, the affection that I once gave her credit for, I kind of no longer am able to give her credit for, because as I've matured, I've been able to see ooh, yeah, that was fucked up. Ooh, yeah, that wasn't really a loving thing for her to do, or it appeared to be love. But knowing what I know now, I know that it came from a place of trauma. So that's how she was in my early childhood. Coming, more into preteen and pre-preteen years, she became very abusive physically, mentally, and emotionally. And she is just it's almost as if something like a flip switch. And she was like, oh, you've hit this certain age. I don't have to show affection to you anymore. So it just got to a point where she showed little to no affection to me. And then I was the only girl out of ultimately 5 boys. She ended up having 2 other children before I turned 18, I believe. So it was mostly boys. They were my eldest brothers, and they were abusive towards me as well. they were very mean and cold towards me as well. As far as like my life outside of the home, I didn't really have any true friends. In the friend groups that I were in, it was kind of like a wishy-washy energy. It's like they hang out with me when it was convenient for them, and then when it wasn't, it was just like whatever. Or they would, be mean to me. So, ironically, throughout all of that trauma, and I'm not disclosing all of the trauma I endured. That is just a part of it. And the reason why I'm mentioning that part is because it has to do with what I'm ultimately going to talk about, which is love and how my love has manifested. But throughout all of the trauma that I've endured, somehow I've always been super loving. I can feel my Madala's energy on me right now. I've always been super loving, always had a big heart, always like this is not to toot my own horn or anything, but I'm 100% one of those people that would give someone the shirt off my back. I'm 100% one of those people who would take in someone because they need a place to stay. Like, I've been super empathetic all my life. It's just that now that divine feminine, empathetic, loving, mothering energy of mine is balanced with logic and discernment and being able to see people for how their spirit and soul is, as opposed to, they're a human just like me, I have always kind of been, like I said before, in and out of groups, I never really had a stable relationship with anyone, like stable friendship, a stable clique, a stable romantic partnership, even a stable family relationship. And the irony to me in that, considering what I just said about me being so loving, is like I never had that permanency. I never had stability within love, but I still loved. I still love so hard and so heavily and so passionately, so selflessly, and without reason a lot of times. So it just baffles me, like how someone can come from not having received love so much, being pushed aside, discarded, rejected, bullied, abused so much, and still be so loving. Like, it's times I look at myself and I'm like, how? Like, how is it that this is still my makeup? So I'm going to talk about a friendship that I did have that had a little bit more stability than some of the other relationships I had. So I'm going to call this person... I'm looking at... no, I'm not going to call her that because, I don't want y'all to not take me seriously. I'm going to call her Clove. Oh, my gosh. That would be a pretty name, for real, because I love cloves. And, yeah. But anyway, I'm going to call her Clove. So I had this friend, Clove, right? We became friends in 6th grade. In that friendship, both her and I, we're in 6th grade. Like, we don't know how to be good friends. We don't know how to be good, even just coexisting people to each other. Or to ourselves, most importantly. But I met Clove, and as soon as I saw her, I was like, this is going to be my best friend, This is my best friend. And she went along with it. We actually began to have a relationship from that point on. We actually made efforts to talk to each other and spend time with each other and things like that. This relationship with Clove stemmed from a place of insecurity. And one thing a lot of people don't realize about themselves is the flip side of idolization and romanticism is inferiority and is self-hate. So sometimes we'll see someone who is the opposite of who we subconsciously identify ourselves as, and the exact prototype of what we from an insecure place want to be, and we will tell ourselves like, wow, this person is so cool, like I want to be their friend, and this, that, and the third. But it's really you wanting to be them. It's really you wanting to be them, and you wanting to become their friend so that you can get closer to being them, to being like them, so that you can feel like you have a taste of what you think their essence is like. And heavy on the think, because I recently just did some cord cutting and shadow work, and I had to learn like a lot of people from my past were not as good as I thought they were. They were as good as I made them out to be. So what I mean by that is like who they actually were, like their actuality might have been very shitty, very low vibe, very demonic within their spirit and soul. But because I took superficial things, like say for example, oh, she has Levi jeans on, she wears Converse, her hair is curly, she does her lashes, she does this, she does that. I'm just throwing stuff out there, right? I'm not really into that stuff anymore. But because I idolized those superficial things and I associated it with their ultimate worth and the ultimate greatness of their soul as a being and their spirit, I ended up becoming very inferior. And that inferiority manifested as bitterness, and it manifested as anger. And sometimes I directed that anger at that person. Sometimes I directed that anger at myself in ways that I should not have, at other people and other things in my life. And that's why it's very important to address things, because you can think like, oh, this issue is just in this one area of my life. It's just with this person. It's just with this. It's just with that. But you'll be surprised when something is in your subconscious mind, it branches over and affects other areas of your life. It's like a domino effect. So another thing, this is like the major highlight of this relationship with Clove. I do believe that twin flames can indeed be karmic. In fact, I feel like most twin flames are karmic. And the reason why I say that is because a romantic divine partnership is meant to have more balance and more nuance than the low vibrational connotation that's attached to twin flames in the media right now. So a lot of the twin flames in the media right now is like, people who are based on like their love is based out of a thrill. And I'll say love, quote unquote, because sometimes, a lot of times people are thinking that it's love and it's really just infatuation or, just wanting sex or feeling certain like demonic low vibe root chakra cravings. That's what I feel like. Oh my gosh, exactly. Root chakra type cravings, even though it doesn't necessarily have to be primarily the root chakra that those low vibe urges are coming from. But I'm saying that to say, I feel like my relationship with Clove was a twin flame, a karmic twin flame relationship. We got those karmic lessons. We learned from each other, but it wasn't divine, and it wasn't a harmonious relationship either. Looking in hindsight, as a whole, right? There were good moments, but as a whole, it wasn't. One of the major things that stuck with me during that relationship, like I said, we grew up together, we were maturing together, and there were times where I was a really shitty friend. And there was this time where I was becoming more self-aware, and I was starting to recognize my errors to her as a friend, and starting to improve on those, starting to become a better person, starting to realize, like, damn, like, how I treated Clove is how my abusers treated me, how, the bullies treated me, or the people who were not good friends to me treated me. So let me correct that, because I want to have a lifelong relationship with this person. So in the era that I was like really becoming a better friend to her, like truly becoming grateful for her, that's when things on her end spiritually was changing. I was thinking, from my reality, I'm thinking like, yes, I'm finally getting where I want to be with Clove. But she had one foot out the door. And let me just go back and say that self-love is holding yourself accountable, but it's also holding other people accountable. And that's another thing that I learned in this relationship too, is to stop taking more accountability than necessary. Like, stop just seeing from your own perspective, stop just seeing from the perspective of what you gave out. Also see from the perspective of what type of behaviors and energies you receive from them. Clove wasn't a great friend to me either. We were not good to each other. We were not good for each other, but we still deserved each other because we had things to learn. And to balance that out even further, there were times in our connection where we were genuinely good to each other. We were genuinely supportive of each other. We had bad days and we were each other's shoulder to cry on. But in the majority, my relationship with Clove was not healthy. But back to what I was saying. We were at what I thought was the zenith of our friendship. And, we were communicating back and forth in a healthy way. The arguing, that was like lesson. Like it was, I felt like it was really becoming a healthy relationship that was on the road to being long term. And Clove, out of the blue, maybe a few weeks later, maybe a month later, I don't remember the exact time frame, but she cut me off. And I was devastated because it felt like, damn, like I was really investing into this relationship. And, it seems like it's in vain because as I improved, my improvements weren't clear to her or just wasn't worth it for her to stay. So, she cut me off. Few months later, I ended up messaging her. And I said, Clove, I know, we had our differences and you found that it was best for us not to be best friends. But I would really like for you to give me insight on what were the determining factors for you to cut it off with me. And one of the major things that stood out to me, she said this. She said, Jonice, you love like no one I've ever met before. And your love to me feels like too much. She also mentioned a poem that I wrote, right? And she said that let me go back and say what the poem was. So the poem had something to do with like sisterhood, friendship. I think it was like something, it said something about her being my sister because we consider each other sisters, right? I think she may have been the one who initiated using that term. Like, we're not just best friends, we're sisters. Yeah, I think it was her. Yeah. But I was like, hell yeah, like I've always wanted a relationship with stability. So going from best friends to sisters was like, oh yes, like that resonates a lot. So the poem pretty much talked about like, okay, I'm just gonna briefly make something up. Like, you're my sister. I appreciate our relationship. I love you. Our relationship holds a lot of value to me, right? And I'm trying to think I wish I had the poem. I really do wish that I had the poem. But I'm very self-aware, very accountable. If I find error within myself, I'm quick to address it and nip it in the bud. I don't want to call it nip it in the bud because it does sound like a dismissive term, even though I'm not using it in that way. But to just heal it, just progress and move forward with that information in a divine way. And intuitively, because my mandalas have helped me with this shadow work, and they are assisting me in this moment. And psychically and intuitively trailing back, that poem was not like, it wasn't romantic and it wasn't inappropriate. It wasn't anything of a sexual nature. It wasn't anything of a nature that is just like utterly inappropriate for a sister, best friend type relationship. But like she said, she wasn't used to it. It's not that she wasn't used to, but she wasn't comfortable receiving that amount of love. She had limits within her love, both the love that she was able to receive from other people and the love that she was able to give out. So having not loved myself, having put her on a pedestal based off of superficial things that she was associated with, or that I associated with her telling me that my love was too much for her and that my poem and things like it was too much. And mind you, let me be clear, the poem, I believe that was my very first time writing her a poem. I've written her paragraphs before, like, I just want to take this time to appreciate you. I just want to, maybe let's say every month or every few months, I'll write you a paragraph just so you can know, like, you are appreciated. I'm glad to have you by my side. I don't think that's inappropriate even now to this day. Now, it's the consistency of things that makes it inappropriate. So if you're doing the shit like too much, if you're doing the shit in a way that breaks a person's boundaries or invades their privacy, that's when it becomes obsessive and too much. But to simply say someone's love in and of itself is too much is absolutely low frequency type mindset. But because I was not who I am now, and I idolized her, I internalized what she said. I was like, this person is better than me, so she's right. And from this point on, I'm never going to write people poems. if I write a paragraph about someone, I'm never going to fully express how I feel to them. I'm always going to limit my love, and I'm always going to be somewhat closed off to other people's love, right? And yeah, it stuck with me until I met my romantic divine partner almost a year ago. It stuck with me. It stuck with me. It stuck with me in friendships and loving relationships that, you know, even in connections where it was other people who were initiating the paragraphs, other people who were, people who have drawn artwork for me, people who have genuinely shown interest in me and love for me without me being the first one to show it or say, I love you, I still didn't really feel like I could let that go. And so what I learned about Clove is that she normalized only experiencing so much of her divine feminine energy. Now, energy, masculine and feminine energy, it's a double-sided coin. So a lot of things that are feminine can be tied back to being masculine and vice versa. But I'm generally labeling it as feminine energy because it's love, it's emotions, it's the waters, right? So she put limits on how much feminine energy she allowed herself to both reside in, give out, and receive from other people. And she imposed those beliefs onto me, making me believe that I should put those same limits on myself. And this is like essentially how spiritual diseases work. A person, they have a demonic low vibrational belief, schema, stigma within themselves. It affects their relationships, whether, even if it's not in a super abusive way, it could just simply affect, I don't go and buy flowers. I don't go and, write cards or express how I really feel or how much I really care about someone, because that's too much. For whatever reason they may think it's too much. They may feel like it has something to do with sexuality. Like, oh, that's gay. Like, that's weird. That's the type of shit that would make someone reject me. Because I feel like a lot of insecurities are really rooted in rejection. But they will have these dark energies in them, and they'll be in connection with someone like who I was at that time. Someone very insecure, very vulnerable, very emotionally unstable, very out of love with herself. And it would be very easy for them to inseminate me, or inseminate you, or inseminate someone else with that spiritual disease. And what happens is the person that's injected with it, they carry on, normalizing it. And it affects their children, it affects whoever they're close to, right? And this type of darkness can explode and become things much darker, right? And I'm not going to get into that much darker. I'm just going to let y'all's minds, do that work itself. But you know what I mean, right? So she gave me a spiritual disease, right? It affected my current divine romantic relationship until my divine partner was like, hey, cut the crap. I know that you would rather be more expressive about how much you love. I know that that's what you really want to do. I know that taking the standard off of yourself to only let yourself be yourself, but so much, would make you feel so much more liberated, so much more comfortable, so much more happily in a relationship with me and everyone else that loves you. So why continue to place this limit on yourself? And that's the thing. I don't know why I feel emotional energy. I don't know if it's coming from me or if it's coming from spirits. But I definitely feel a passionate energy because it can be very difficult. This type of work is not easy. Sometimes we genuinely have blinders on us to where we can't see how we're putting limits on ourselves and other people. We can't see how we're being low vibrational. And it's not a surprise because we live in a world that's dominated by demonic energy. We're dominated by that. So if you're immersed with nothing but let's compare it to an addiction, the drug that's making you sick. Even if it's not like in the foods or in the products that you use, even if it's just looking outside the window and seeing somebody take that drug that you're trying to get off of, that shit is going to be hard to get off of. It's going to be hard to not realize when the shit is in your system because you've become immune to it. But even in this world that we live in, dominated by demonic energy, there still lives a God within this world. And when I say world, I don't mean the universe, I mean Earth. Earth is dominated by demonic energy. In our universe, divine spirits, divine energy dominates. And it's funny how the things I'm mentioning in this conversation correlate with most of the videos on my channel. This is why it's important to work with mandalas. I'll put the meaning of that in the comments and in the caption, because regardless of what happens on Earth or whatever plane you may have to reincarnate and exist on, the universe is head honcho. And the universe is directly related to your spirit. And your spirit, the corruption or lack thereof in your spirit manifests as the behaviors that you have on Earth, the things that you engage in on Earth, etc., etc. So you can idolize the things on Earth as much as you want to. You can put the mundane before the spiritual as much as you want to, but regardless, God dominates and the divine dominates, right? So the universe is head honcho. So yes, our Earth and the environment that we have to live on is dominated by demonic energy, but the universe is head honcho. So the spirit, we got to focus on the spirit. We got to focus on cleaning, liberating our spirit, healing our spirit, so that even if this world is shitty, our divine favor can come through and we will get the lives we want and deserve on this earth at some point. And if you're doing the work consistently, that some point, I can't even say at some point, I gotta struggle up until 20 years from now. It's gonna be progressive. You're gonna progressively see your life transform. But back to what I was saying about my divine partner. We did that shadow work together, and I was able to trace the roots of, that schema, that stigma of I can't love him as much as I want to, back to the relationship with Clove. And I was able to take that off of myself. Like, why should I let someone else's, low vibrational limit, them not being in touch with their femininity, affect me from fully loving someone who is also fully loving me, and in fact giving me the love that I've been waiting for, giving me the love that I've been seeking within all of my connections in my entire lifetime. So yeah, I'm not gonna fumble the bag for someone. Well, fumble this great ass man for someone that I don't give two fucks about right now, for someone who is much more low vibrational than me and is still, from what I last checked, in the same vibration, in the same place that she was when we were friends years ago. Still having the same karma as well, from what I found out psychically. So yeah, I'm not going to stay stuck on that plane. I'm going to move on. I'm going to step into this light and accept this man's love. And when I did, I felt like so much weight. Like, you would be surprised at how just having conversations with yourself and allowing yourself to receive even just love, even just a hug from somebody, how much that can heal you. Like, I felt like years worth of weights lifted off of me. How else can I explain it to y'all so that you know what I feel? I wish I could just directly make y'all feel my energy. But long story short, like, it healed me. It made me a better person. It made me a softer person. It made me a more patient person. It made me a person that was less needy as well. It made me less low vibrationally masculine to just acknowledge that wound, heal it, and accept my partner's love. I'm sure there was more to it. My Madallas probably I feel like my Madallas would just say that, girl, like, you're missing how it helped you in this way and it helped you in that way. But if they do end up telling me and I feel like I need to make a video about it, I will. So the second point, and this is the last point, it may be other points I come up with, but this video is getting long. So I ended up sick, and another reason why I know my divine partner is my divine partner is because everyone that was karmic left at the worst times for them to leave me. Like, they left at the worst times, okay? And they came at okay times, right? The low vibrationally convenient times, like, oh, I'm bored, let me go talk to someone. Those type of times, but they could not stay through the storm. My divine partner came and missed the storm. He came when I was like, okay, I don't know if I can do this anymore. I've been celibate for 5 years. I've been alone and without friends and without family. Like, I don't know if this is worth holding on to. He came at the right time, just like God would, right? And he came while I was sick, very sick. And it affected my mobility. It affected my eating and a lot of other things as well. So when he came, and our relationship it developed fast, but it wasn't like a karmic toxic fast. It's a steady type of fast. It's a divine, healthy type of fast, right? And he supported me. It didn't take much for him to feel like I was deserving of his love and support in that hard time. And I was receiving so much love and so much. I'm like, it felt uncomfortable to receive that and not automatically, default into, okay, he's giving, let me give back. He's giving, let me give back. He did this, let me hurry up and do this, And I was afraid to just rest in his love, because what if he gets bored? What if he finds that I'm not giving enough back to him, right? But at the same time, that was coming from a self-hating place, because I wasn't giving myself grace for my condition. It was only but so much that I could do. There was only but so much that I could do, having been as ill as I was. Yet I was still, beating myself up like, you need to do this, you need to do that, you need to try. Possibly even making myself more sick, thinking about, doing those things, right? So what I learned from that experience, what he taught me, is that I don't have to immediately reciprocate love when it's given to me. I don't have to immediately go out of my way like, he rubbed my feet last night, so let me cook him breakfast this morning, knowing that I'm sick, knowing that I'm in pain. I have to give myself grace, but I have to give myself the grace that I would probably easily give him. Because if the roles were reversed, I wouldn't put him under the pressure to, like, I know you're sick, but you at least need to take out the trash. Look, I know you broke your leg, but you at least need to take out the trash. I know that sounds super crazy, but that's practically the ideal that I was putting in my own head while I was in a place where I wasn't able to. And God, Madalis, will put you in situations like this where you'll get sick while being in a relationship with someone, just so that you can heal that pressure to always hurry up and give back to them. And you can just rest in your feminine energy, just receive. Because you know that you would nurture them without expecting anything back, except for them to keep respecting and loving you in general. And that's another thing. That ties into my next point, which is our love is not directly correlated with our actions. So I can love someone, right? And I can give them flowers. I can love someone and I can punch them in the face. I can love someone and I can be on bed rest because that's how sick I am, right? Do I have to give them something back? Do I have to immediately, suck their dick? Practically, or actually, however you want to look at it. Do I have to immediately give back to them to show them that I love them? Can my energy not speak for itself? Can the way that I receive their love not speak for itself alone? Because the way that you receive a person's love, it says a lot to them. It really does speak volumes. But when you don't love yourself enough, you don't feel like it's enough. You feel like you need to do more. And so that's what this relationship has taught me, is to rest in love, rest in receiving other people's love, and know that my love is big and it's powerful and it can be received without me doing anything but showing up for them in the way that a divine partner would. So yes, I am done with this video. If I find that I need to make a part 2, I will. It looks like I'm gonna have to. I don't know why this video ended up being longer than I wanted it to, but I still feel like it was rushed. But if you all have any questions, comments, or concerns, please let me know in the comments down below. Hope you all enjoyed. Please be sure to share, comment, like if you like, and subscribe. Peace.